Everybody loves their pets. There's no question. I've got a cat. We love that cat. I used to have a toy poodle back when I was a kid. Loved that dog. Everybody loves their pets. And when there are custody challenges of the pet, things can get real wild real quick. And local story about this exact type of scenario playing out, and to talk more about it, joining me in studio is Scott Reeder from the Illinois Times. Scott, welcome to the program. Obviously, there's some emotion involved with this story, but holy cow, how did you even come across the story? What is that story?
Well, it's an odd story. While I was on vacation a couple of weeks ago, a neighbor of this elderly woman came in with this great big thick folder and dropped it off with my editor and said, "Could you have one of your reporters take a look at this?" And what it amounted to was this 78-year-old woman, Adina Lincoln, woman named Lincoln in Springfield. What more could one ask for? And she had a medical emergency on May 20th, and she was removed by paramedics from her home, unconscious. The paramedics noticed that there was a dog in the house. They let animal control know. So later that day, animal control came out and with a police lieutenant and a locksmith, and they opened up the house and they took the dog in. Now, Animal Control Sangamon County Animal Control has a policy that for an owner relinquished dog, they have 7 days to reclaim the dog. And so the head of Animal Control calls down to the hospital where this woman is, and they were told, well, she's not coherent right now. She's just undergone aortic surgery, which is a big, big deal.
Sure.
And at the meantime, they had somebody from Animal Control talk to the neighbors, and they said, she's not expected to make it. Would you be interested in taking this dog? And the woman said, well, if she's not going to make it, just find a good home for it, I mean, hey. And so then they call back to the hospital, and they said, well, she's still not coherent, but hey, why don't here's her next of kin. He lives out in Utah. It's her brother. They call him. Now, there's some dispute on what was said in this conversation. The brother says
nobody was rolling a recorder or anything like that?
Nobody was rolling a recorder. The brother says he said to them, I can't afford to fly this dog out to Utah. It's not within my budget, but I'd be willing to spend $40 or $50 a day to have it boarded in Springfield until she's better. Now, Animal Control said no such offer was ever made, and that the brother said to just relinquish the dog to Animal Control.
Oh.
But regardless, at this point, nurses from the hospital start calling the Animal Control and say, now Mrs. Lincoln is awake and aware now, and
Great.
One of them was from Jacksonville, and she said, I'm willing to take this dog until and foster it until she's better.
Sure.
And they said, well, you need to work that out with her next of kin.
The same person who said,
please board the dog. I'll pay to board.
Go ahead and take the dog.
Yeah, or supposedly. We don't know. Right. He claims he didn't say that. They say he did. We don't know. So, but the nurse says, hey, I'll take her in and foster this dog, Sam. And Animal Control said, well, that's not our job. We don't own that dog. We only have possession of it. You need to work that out with the next of kin. Apparently that didn't happen. In the meantime, a woman who's on the Sangamon County Board, Pam Deppie, drops by Animal Control and sees this dog. It's a purebred Havanese, and she falls in love with it. And
purebreds aren't cheap. I mean, purebreds are an expensive
proposition. This is an $800 dog from a breeder in Ohio that they brought out. They spent a couple $100 to bring out. She's had this dog for 5 years. It's her life, basically. Sure. And she puts her name in for this dog. Well, What's not in dispute is on June 1st, the brother calls and says, "We want the dog. We want this."
Wow.
And we.
Is he going to fly over to Central Illinois and pick this dog up?
He has made very adamantly clear. Everybody agrees, and they said, "Well, no. The deadline for reclaiming this dog was May 30th."
Wow.
And although we still have possession of this dog, we are not. We are giving it to somebody new. It's been spoken for. Well, Edina Lincoln has made this remarkable recovery.
It's great.
She's home.
That's great.
But she's very sad because this dog was her entire life. She took it for walks 3 to 5 miles a day in Washington Park. That was her whole social life. She'd interact.
And the dog's name is Sam.
Sam, yeah. She would talk to the other owners, dog walkers, and the neighbors on this. This is her whole life. The only time she really got out of the house was with this dog. And she's very upset because she feels this dog was wrongly taken from her. And then so I call up Mrs. Deppie and I said, what's the deal here? And she goes, well, I legally adopted this dog from the pound. I love this dog. I cook it custom meals every day.
What?
Yes. I mean, this.
Wait a second. Hold on.
Yes, I mean, as you know, I'm the husband of a
custom
veterinarian.
Meals you cook custom meals for a dog every day.
Yeah, people do it. I mean,
what does that entail? That's another segment altogether.
That's another segment altogether. But yes, people do this. I'm married to a veterinarian. I mean, people actually do this. This is one pampered dog because Mrs. Edina, when she was she was buying the most expensive custom refrigerated dog food she could.
Wow.
The new owner was cooking the meal, and so anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, but don't you feel bad for? Well, yes, but I legally adopted this dog. I want to keep it, and so it became. So I do this story about this love triangle between these two women and this dog, and neither wants the other to have the dog, and.
Wow. Has anybody asked the dog which person that Sam would like to live with? Is the dog's name still Sam?
No, they renamed him Buddy. So Buddy.
There's so many weird twists and turns in the story, Scott.
Yes,
hey, can you hold on a second?
Okay.
The story, I think it deserves another segment.
Sure.
Right? Because, number one, the dog's diet blowing me away here. Number two, the dog's name has changed now in the story. And number three, was there any taxpayer cost to this? I mean,
oh yes.
Is there going to be lawsuits involved here? Or are there going to be
lawyers have become involved?
Oh,
I'll get into that.
All right, so we'll get to that next here with Springfield's Morning News on WMAY. A story that just gets stranger and stranger with each turn of the page. Scott Reeder from Illinois Times joining us to talk about his latest work concerning a dog named Sam that was renamed to Buddy after a woman had the dog. She went into surgery, getting out of surgery. Where's the dog? Apparently, it went to animal control, which then was adopted by a Sangamon County board member. And now there are lawyers involved, Scott. What in the world is going on with this story?
So, so Edina and her friends are saying, hey, animal control gave the Sangamon County board member special preference. Of course, the Sangamon County board oversees animal control as a county agency. Animal control is really adamant. No, we did not give any special preference. No, we did not try to do anything. Pam Deppie, the county board member, said, no, I never saw it special preference. Regardless, we have this situation where, you have this dog. It's lived with this elderly woman for 5 years who's now living with this new family for a couple months. It's been renamed.
Getting high-quality, home-cooked meals.
Every day, she cooks a new meal for that dog. It sleeps in bed with her right next to her husband every night. It's in love with her husband. She says she says this is she doesn't want to give him up.
But let me just take a step back really quick before we get into the lawsuits that I'm expecting are going to be flying all over the place here and what the county's role is. But the dog costs $800 as a purebred.
Yes.
As a purebred dog, cost $800.
$800 plus $200 to transport it to Illinois from Ohio. From
okay. How much did the county board member get it for from the pound?
$50.
It's quite a deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, in fairness, it was a puppy when it was purchased for $800. The it's now 5 years old, but still, I mean, it's a decent deal for a purebred Havanese dog. It's an adorable dog. So anyway, the county board, the animal control has been in contact with the civil division of the state's attorney's office. Like, what are we going to do here? The Mrs. Lincoln has been in talk and contacted a lawyer here in town. It looked like we were heading for a lawsuit. So I do this story for the Illinois Times. I've been a journalist 35 years. This is the craziest story. I don't think I've ever had this many online comments on any story I have ever written. We've gotten hundreds of people commenting and demanding that dog be returned to its quote, rightful owner.
Right.
And I mean,
wow.
I think we had one, maybe two people out of those hundreds that said, well, maybe Pam Deppy one of them being Mrs. Deppy, a relative of Mrs. Deppy, saying, no, she should keep the dog. The community just went in complete overdrive outrage on the thing. And suddenly, last night, she negotiated a return of the dog to Mrs. Lincoln. And
oh my.
Yes. And they had a lawyer involved, and they negotiated a custody situation where they returned the dog. And so we have a picture on the Illinois Times Facebook page of Mrs. Lincoln with her dog Sam. Finally, big grin on Mrs. Lincoln's face, and if you're a dog lover like me, you can see a smile on Sam/Buddy's face. He looks very happy too. Apparently, he won't leave her side. He is extremely happy. She's extremely happy, and we actually have an ending to this story, which is kind of nice. I've been doing this for so many years. I've had legislation inspired by bills I've signed. I mean, I've had laws created. I've had all these things, but I got to tell you,
you've talked to murderers and suspected murderers.
I've done stories on people that were wrongly convicted that eventually were released. I've had all these things. I can't tell you that there's any story that's given me more joy seeing an ending to than that dog returning to Mrs. Lincoln. I felt so good for her and so good for that dog, and I'm a big dog lover. I have 9 dogs in my home. Wow. And, I just...
Are any as cute as this?
Oh, well, you're asking the wrong person there. We all think our dogs are the best looking and the nicest dogs, but he is certainly an adorable dog, and I think he's certainly well loved. He gets walked 3 to 5 miles a day in Washington Park. Everybody knows him along that route.
Now, did his name go back?
His name is Sam.
Okay, all right, just making sure.
And
wow.
So the dog.
Now, if this dog could talk,
yes.
If this dog could tell its own story, I'm sure it would likely discuss how he kept his quality meals and how the pound didn't. It was, hey, these wonderful ladies, they kept giving me awesome meals, but do you know what he was fed in the pound?
It wasn't good, I can tell you that. I mean, it certainly wasn't good compared to what he was getting from these 2 ladies. She's, I think the... Mrs. Lincoln said, I buy Blue Earth, which is the refrigerated soft food that people pay big bucks for. And then he goes to the pound for a week, and he's probably eating kibble if he's eating that.
Wow.
And then he goes to live with Mrs. Deppy, who's cooking home-cooked meals for him every day.
That's unreal.
So I mean, he's had it pretty good. Now, that week in the pound, he got neutered. He probably isn't real happy about that, but he He's living the life of Riley right now.
That's incredible. Scott Reeder, Illinois Times. Find the latest at the Illinois Times website. And you can also find out the latest with Illinois Times on Facebook, where, again, you can see the picture of the reunion of Miss Lincoln getting Sam back into her arms, all promulgated from a story that you did because somebody brought in a stack of papers, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah, exactly. How many times have you had that happen to you, Greg? Somebody comes in with a folder and says, you got to look at this. And it's like,
well, and typically, the journalist wants it to turn into like Deep Throat.
yes.
You want it to be the bombshell that's going to rock the foundation of the White House. This so happens to be about an $800 dog that somehow gets into the custody of somebody else who paid $50 for it. And now, at full circle, comes right back after all the reporting on this and the community outpouring of support. What an incredible story, Scott.
It was a fun one to write.
I can't wait to talk to you about your next story. So, if people have tips, if they want to bring you some story that they've got just burning inside them with documents or whatever, what
Call
can
the
they
Illinois
do?
Times. I'd love to hear about them.
All right, so make it happen. Scott Reeder, Illinois Times, greatly appreciate you taking the time with us, and let's talk again soon, all right?
Sounds great. Thank you.
It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's news and